Welcome back to the Top Prospect podcast. We got the boys back here again. Phil, did you have a question for us?
No, I thought I did, but I don't anymore. Oh, yes, I do. Sorry.
Oh, you do?
Quick question. Who is this player?
Dude, it looks like a skinny Draymond Green.
Oh,
Do any know it?
all right.
Darius
not playing
something.
anymore.
His name is Darius.
It's Latrell Sprewell. I know it's not, but that's the only name that comes to mind.
This is the GOAT Darius Miles.
Oh,
I would not have guessed that.
I got his name right. I got the first
Not
name.
have guessed that.
All right.
But before we get into the topic, I just want to, if your favorite team just blew away from existence, who would you be, who would be your second team in line? Who would you be a fan of?
Ooh.
I like that question. Now,
That won't be hard for me.
all right,
If the Pistons just blew away out of existence, if the Celtics were just not a thing anymore, who'd be next in line?
see, my second team that I've always kind of followed and kind of rooted for deep down has always been the Pelicans. So I feel like not rooting them on would be kind of wrong. It would be like a total bandwagon move. So if the Celtics blew off the map, yeah, I think I'd follow the Pelicans full time.
Okay, Phil.
I'm
Okay, no,
choosing I'm choosing the Nuggets, bro.
Bandwagon.
Oh, okay.
Like, you can't see it, but in my room, I have two flags. And I was like 8 when I got these. One of them's the Pistons and one of them's the Nuggets. Don't know why I got the Nuggets. I thought the colors were cool, but probably the Nuggets, yeah.
Chicken
Because I love
nuggets,
Jokic.
that's why, didn't you? You like nuggets.
Yeah, I like chicken nuggets.
Bass, how about you?
I've always been a big Kawhi guy, but I don't know if I want to face the slander that the Clippers get all the time. So I think I'm going with Portland.
That's a solid
Trailblazers.
team.
I'll be my other one.
I like all your choices. Those are great. My team, I think I would have to go with the Mavericks because Luka,
Luka.
Porzingis, they got a fun little team over there. So
Another
and
bandwagon.
so it's not a bandwagon.
You're bandwagon to the Mavericks. That'd be tragic.
Oh my god! All right, so our topic today is about the Los Angeles Clippers. I feel like this is a team that's not talked about much as a true finals contender. And I'm going to ask you guys some questions on what they can do to push themselves to be a finals favorite. So, first question, what do the Clippers need to do to push themselves up to that next level to be a true finals contenders like the Lakers or the Nets? Phil, you want to start us off?
I think the two main things for that statement that I would say. So right now they're third in the West. They're, what is it? 4 games back of the Jazz for the first seed. So I think the one main thing is that they need to stay healthy because their team just like Ibaka right now is hurt for I don't even know how long he's been out for, like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Kawhi sits out a lot, but that's like normal. And Paul George is having a really good year. So I think like playoff wise, like they're gonna be good in the playoffs, but that brings to my second point is their playoff performance. Like they're fine in the regular season. They can stay as a 3 seed and be perfectly fine, but their playoff performance is gonna like obviously like prove if they're like really legit or not. Obviously, last year they blew it through and lead to the Nuggets. So, and I personally think they could have like gave the Lakers obviously a better run for their money than the Nuggets did. So I think just playoff performance overall, and then health is gonna make them or see if they're good or not.
I like that answer, Phil. Very good. Bass, what do you think?
I think the success of the Clippers falls onto the shoulders of one man, and that's Paul George. Now, he spent the good portion of the bubble just getting clowned by everybody that remotely watches basketball.
Way off peak.
Some of it was deserved, but a lot of it, I don't know if it
It
was.
was all deserved.
PG 13%.
Paul George has proven that he's a really good player in this league. He's done it with the Pacers, he's the Thunder, and now with the Clippers. But the big what if is, will he show up in like come playoff time? Last year he really didn't, and the Clippers really struggled because of it. But if Paul George can show that he's even decent come playoff time, then they should be a force in the West.
No, Bass, I completely agree with you. That's a big reason why I wanted to even have this topic was because of Paul George and his inconsistencies. The first half of the year, I feel like he was on a tear, doing very well, and I feel like ever since All-Star break, he's been pretty inconsistent. He would do well one night, other nights not so much. But John, what's on your mind, bud?
Yeah, I think these other two kind of hit the nail right on the head with this one. As far as roster goes and whatnot, I mean, the Clippers have everything they need to win. It's are they going to show up and do it? Like they just need to play to their max potential. And obviously staying healthy goes hand in hand with that. If you're not healthy, you're not going to play to the best of your ability. So as Philip said, staying healthy, but I think Paul George is a big deciding factor. I mean, I feel like Kawhi is pretty consistent as far as what you're going to get. I mean, if the scoring is not consistent, you're going to get a lot of consistency on the defensive side of the ball just because Kawhi is a very good player. And as Bassett literally just said, Paul George has proven himself to be a very good player in this league. I mean, he's been to the All-Star game how many times? He was a top player with Indiana, did very well in OKC, and he's shown that he still has it with the Clippers. So I think it's really just pretty much rallying together and like
Sorry, brother.
I think you should rally together and just make sure you're playing your best basketball at the end of the season. I think that's what it comes down to.
Now, Paul George is a really weird like kind of guy because earlier in his career with the Pacers, he was able to get to the Eastern Conference Finals and I believe a Game 7 with LeBron.
Yes.
And then he gets to OKC and the Clippers, and he's now being known for this guy who is in the playoffs. Maybe he's just not a large market guy, or like I guess because the Pacers don't have like the biggest amount of fans. I know OKC's not really Oklahoma's not a big market, but they have a ton of fans. And obviously LA, they're gonna have a ton of fans as well. So maybe he just doesn't shine under those conditions, but it's strange to see him kind of get worse in the playoffs as his career's gone on.
Well, it could be the spotlight, but obviously there's a lot more pressure playing basketball in LA because, I mean, one, you got two teams who apparently right now are very relevant, very good teams. I mean, we saw Alonzo Ball, obviously completely different situation, but I mean, he struggled early with the Lakers. Everyone was calling him a bust. They shipped him over to New Orleans, and I think we've all even talked about on the show how he's a very underrated player and he's played very well. So, I mean, I feel like the moment and like the whole environment and everything just gets elevated when you're playing in LA versus somewhere else, which obviously comes with all the extra slander he gets too. I mean, obviously the pressure's on in LA.
So yeah, do you guys think it's just like a mental aspect? Do you think it's just maybe it's in his head? He feels the pressure being in Los Angeles, battle with
Can
LA.
I chime in real quick
Oh, yeah.
about something?
Of course.
So before the bubble, in all of Paul George's playoff appearances and series and stuff, that's where he got his nickname Playoff P. He didn't get his nickname just off of this year. He got his nickname because he elevated his play in the playoffs. Just this last bubble year is overshadowing how he's been doing in the playoffs. So, personally, I think Paul George is going to be perfectly fine in these playoffs. He's shooting the ball 44% from the three-point line, which is incredible. He's literally all career highs in field goal percentages. Not career high in points, but he's still a second option on a championship contending team. So I think he'll be perfectly fine, and he gets way too much slander because he's insane.
I think it's 100% mental because Paul George is like, I don't know, he's on social media, so he's going to be like reading comments and stuff about how he's doing in these performances, and every single night to see him just getting slandered after already knowing he just played terrible on the court. I think that really got to his head, and I think it looks like he has a way better mentality this year, which is awesome to see. So I think he's going to do a lot better in these playoffs.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he will do definitely way better than last year. Maybe because it was the bubble under different circumstances, maybe it affected his play. Maybe injuries came up. You never know. But last week, the Clippers did sign DeMarcus Cousins to a 10-day contract. Do you guys think they should extend him for the rest of the season?
I think they signed him for the sole purpose of Ibaka being hurt. Their only center that's actually good is Zubac, and obviously when he comes off the floor, they're not gonna have any help. So I don't think he's gonna like stay there for the whole season. I think it's just like a rental, like come in, like just do your job, like give Zubac some rest until Ibaka gets healthy.
See, I kind of think the opposite. I think they're definitely going to keep him around just because, like you said, if you're going to question the health of the center position, doesn't hurt to have him there. Because what if another injury occurs first round of the playoffs? You know, he's kind of like you're going to want him there. And also, as much as at least earlier in his career, like he was known as like a locker room cancer as opposed to being a good guy to have around. But I mean, you really don't hear much about that as much anymore. So maybe they kind of see it as, a veteran who's been in the league for a long time, get him in the locker room. Maybe he understands that he's not top dog anymore and he's not going to be a bad teammate to everyone. But I think as far as just depth goes, I don't think it hurts them to keep him around, especially where if you're coming from 10-day contract to normal contract, what's really the cap hit on it? It's not like you're really losing anything just to sign him for the rest of the year. So I don't think it's a huge, like, impactful signing. I don't think it's what's going to make or break them, but I definitely think it's a good signing and someone that they should keep around for the remainder of the season.
How sad is that to hear that DeMarcus Cousins isn't an impactful enough signing to tip a team over the edge, or that he's being reduced to 10-day contracts? I mean,
Yeah, because we would not have had that conversation, probably 4 years ago about?
Like 5 years ago, he's considered one of the best centers
like
in the league.
3 years ago, he was like,
Yeah, right before the injury, honestly. When he went to New Orleans, he was still balling.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to use that 10-day contract exactly how it is. They're gonna get to the end of 10 days and they're gonna review how they played. If he's meshed well with the team, that they're gonna just keep him on because he's probably gonna be a vet minimum contract, which is nothing against the salary cap. And if he makes no impact or doesn't mesh well at all with the team, and like what John said, it turns out to be a locker room cancer, then they'll just let him walk and they'll have some other team pick him up. But I just think it's so sad to see DeMarcus Cousins reduced to this because he was so good with the Kings and the Pelicans, and then injuries just really caught up with him and have reduced him to like less than 10 a game. Yeah, that's true.
Like Isaiah Thomas, bro.
Yeah.
Now he's barely on.
I see him on a team though. Anyways, next question. During the trade deadline, the Clippers traded Lou Williams for Rajon Rondo. Rondo's lemon pepper Lou. Rondo's not known for his scoring like Lou Williams is, but who do you think could fill in that hole to replace Lou Williams?
Like bench scoring you're talking about, or just like scoring in general?
And for the bench, because Lou Williams is six man, so who do you think could fill in that scoring hole?
I think it's going to be kind of a collective deal to go pick up his points. I mean, Rondo's been playing pretty well since he's been traded, but Lou Williams kind of demands the ball quite a bit and would like take touches away from Kawhi and Paul George essentially. But I mean, he also deserved those touches because he's a really good scorer. But I think it's going to be more of a collective effort. I think that guys like Ibaka, when he gets back, and Zubac, and then also Rondo, are also going to like step up and kind of pick up on Lou Williams scoring while also adding other things to the team. Because Lou Will is only really a scorer. Like, he's really good at scoring, but he's not going to go clamp somebody up. He's not really known for his passing, I guess, and he's really just a scorer. So I think they feel they can get his value with other guys and then some with Rondo, Ibaka, and others.
I like that answer. Phil, how about you?
So question, does Reggie Jackson start or is he off the bench? Off the bench, right? Because Beverly, Kawhi, and Paul George, right?
Yes, but Beverly just like broke his hand or something like last night, right?
He did. Oh, I didn't even know that.
I think he broke his wrist or his hand or something. So
yeah, I didn't know it was a broken hand, but he got hurt. I know that.
Yeah, Reggie Jackson is probably going to start though.
Well, if he was off the bench, and I'd say Reggie Jackson would be their main scorer off the bench. But I agree with that. It's like a collective thing. They don't have any like insane bench player they're going to take over a game and like drop 20 like any given night, like basically like what Lou Williams' job was. So yeah, I agree. But the addition of Rondo is so interesting because I think this makes them such a dangerous team. Obviously, you saw what Rondo did last year with the Lakers. He made them a dangerous team. He got players like Wesley Matthews and like Davis Caldwell Pope really involved. And this might be some people might think it's an absurd statement, but I think basketball IQ wise and getting teammates involved, Rondo's top 10 all time.
Oh, definitely. I agree with that.
You can argue top. You can argue top
argue
5.
even higher. I would say
You can-
top 5 probably.
You
I
can
mean,
argue top 5, but it's tough because you have players like Stockton,
yeah,
Nash,
it's arguable,
Jason
but I think he's
Kidd.
definitely
Like,
on
there's a
that
lot of
level
people
in that
above him.
conversation for sure.
But bro, having Rondo like is just such an upgrade for the Clippers, and I think they're going to thrive heavily off that, especially with the play of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. It's going to elevate their.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the addition of Rondo was a big move for them. I think it could really honestly help them get to where they want to be. And like basketball with all collective effort, having a guy like Rondo on the team kind of forces that in a way, because Rondo's not going to be taking touches just to get a shot up, but Rondo's obviously been great playmaker, great facilitator. So each person is going to get an extra 2 or 3 shots a game or whatever, and just collectively they're going to make up for the points. But I think, if you're trying to make a playoff run like that, I think Rondo is literally one of the greatest guys to have. I mean, he's got plenty of playoff experience. He's played in a lot of different teams, another veteran guy, and he's just a good guy to have on a team. I mean, people never really viewed him as like a selfish, like locker room cancer. Like, he's always been a good glue guy, good guy to have in the locker room. And I mean, he won the finals with the Celtics, like knowing his role too. I mean, you have that big 3 there back in 08, and he still was able to make a huge impact on the court without trying to take over. And then what he did with the Lakers last year, I think he elevates their chances and elevates their ceiling is what I meant to say. I think he's a great addition to the team, and I don't think they're going to miss Lou Will because of having Rondo now.
All right. I think like having Rondo is huge for them because when you look, you have Reggie Jackson and Pat Beverly. I feel like those aren't the best point guards to have, especially in the playoffs, when Rondo is literally known as playoff Rondo, and he literally like steps it up in the playoffs. But I think someone that will benefit off of Lou Will not being on the team anymore is Luke Kennard. I feel like his shooting off the bench will benefit him a lot because he shoots like 40%.
Family good.
Yes, I think Clippers are like one of the top 3-point shooting teams. Like they have like 7 or 8 guys shooting 40%. But do you guys have any last final thoughts about the Los Angeles Clippers?
I think
You can go.
I think Rondo really helps the mental state of Paul George, because not only is Rondo known for his passing, so he's going to get Paul George more open looks and stuff, but he's also, like we've said, a great leader. So if Paul George is having one of those bad games that he did have in the bubble, Rondo's going to know how to pick him up. To say Rondo was top 5 though for basketball IQ,
I don't
think
agree
is a
with
little
that.
absurd.
I don't agree with
I
that.
think he's on the bubble and could be
Top 10,
around
top
it.
10, sure, I'll give you that.
Chris Paul,
Oh.
LeBron, John Stockton, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd. That's 5 right there.
Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson.
I said arguably he could be in that top 5 discussion.
That's
Well, I
why
ain't
I
arguing.
said top
He's out
10
of
to
it.
be safe. I was being safe.
But I think the addition of Rondo helps others individually as opposed to just the team of the Clippers.
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to say that, but I was going to add it's going to take the pressure off of Paul George and also Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi doesn't have all perfect games. Like, he struggled also. And having Rondo there, like, as a primary ball handler and a playmaker can free up Kawhi Leonard to take off pressure and not like be like, oh, I have to like make a play. Like, he just gives a Rondo to make a play.
And when discussing playoff Rondo, we all kind of totally forgot about the playoff series when he was about to carry the Bulls into sweeping the Celtics.
Yes,
We got
bro.
hurt.
People forget about that in general. I feel
Yeah,
like
a lot
that
of
was
us want to
crazy.
sweep that under the rug because it was disgusting to watch. But if he didn't get hurt, I
That was
don't know
insane
if
to
we were
watch.
even getting a win in that series.
yeah,
He's
they
playing
had
insane.
it was like
They're
a
up
2-0
2-0, I
lead, the
think,
8
yeah.
seed Bulls
And they weren't
against
even
the
like
1 seed.
like, he was literally killing us.
Yeah, he was doing insane. I remember that. Since you bring that up, that was crazy.
Just another example of like what he can bring to a team come playoff time.
Oh, definitely. He definitely impacts teams. Same thing. I feel like Chris Paul every team he goes on improves so much.
And Chris Paul is so underrated. So underrated. Granted, he does get a good amount of respect, but I mean, dude, he can go to a team that doesn't look like they're going to do anything, and he just elevates everyone around him. And everyone just loves playing with Chris Paul. I've never heard anyone talk anything bad about Chris Paul. Like every team loves having him around. He's a great leader, great influence on the younger players, and he just still has it for his age. But this isn't about Chris Paul, so that's what it kind of is. He was on the Clippers.
Hey, we can make a top point guard list eventually and see where Chris Paul is.
Or he made DeAndre Jordan relevant. Like single-handedly made DeAndre Jordan's not that good of a player. I'm sorry. He dunks.
He can catch lobs. That's pretty much what it
That's
is.
literally it. But he made him relevant by throwing him lobs. So yeah. All right. Sorry.
All right. Any final thoughts? Opinions? Anything? All right. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode. Drop any recommendations you guys want us to do. Make sure to like, subscribe, listen to us on Anchor and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Peace.